Hey guys, so FNATIC is a team that when you think of, everyone pretty much thinks of, the old Olaf Meister JW Flusha lineup that is very iconic for winning their major and being one of those teams back in the, 2014 to like 2016 era of Counter-Strike global offensive when things were sort of in this weird golden age almost going into, people consider like 2018, I'm pretty sure a golden age as well. But now they've kind of regressed as an organization and they haven't been competitive for quite some time and are pretty much a farm team. They played host to, for example, Brolin for a long time before eventually selling him to Nip, who would then eventually bench him and he would get his shot in Mouse, which, he's still playing and he's still defining his legacy. They would eventually pick up your boy Mezzy, who would play under them for quite a while before eventually going on to greener pastures in Vitality. And then right when they dropped off Mezzy, they picked up Matisse, who has now left them for greener pastures as well and gone to pick up a trophy with G2. So if we're going by that sort of pattern, that means there's someone in the lineups right now who is probably going to get picked up and probably going to go back to tier 1 and get a trophy. And for my money, it's probably going to be Jambo. Jambo was a two-way opper two-way player, two-way opper, a very strong CT and T-side player is what I mean by that, who has around 35% of his kills with the op and is a very strong rifler to hold that as well. He takes a good chunk of the opening attempts and has a pretty good success rate for them, so he's a very good partner for the other veteran of the roster who could probably should still get a chance once again at tier 1, Blame F. All of that is also not to speak to the fact that, yes, Crims is still here, Crims is still around, but that's crazy in and of its own right to have him still be playing within the team after all this time. The other two members of the team that they currently host are Cypher and Fear. Fear came over with Jambo from Passion UA, even though it was after the fact. And they were in that lineup that made their own Cinderella run. I think it was at Shanghai. And, Cypher is still holding on from that, Paris Cinderella run. And he's not great, but he's not horrible. He's definitely not horrible. He's a true W warrior. Someone that Art would respect, I guess. But it's interesting to see that this organization has sort of shifted their strategy from what they once were to what it is now in terms of being pretty much a farm team. And, when I think of where that someone could go, I gotta say, maybe Jambo to Liquid is not a bad shout. He is a great two-way player, CTT. He has a lot of aggression, which Liquid really need, and Ultimate fulfills a lot of that role right now. And the consistency that Ultimate brings is potentially not enough, so why not take another gamble on it? Now, are they likely to let him go? No, because FNATIC paid, I believe, the largest buyout in the history of the organization to get him, which they told all of us for some reason. I don't know why they did that. Why would you tell us that? I guess it's a hey, we're still committed to CS. We're still committed to this organization and this team being something of value. But at the same time, when your org has been struggling for as long as it has been, it's maybe not the look you think it is. But also, again, like I said, I think Blame F could still go back to a pretty consistent organization. I don't know where, maybe back to Astralis, but, he's the wayward son of Danish Counter-Strike, so I don't think they'll take him back. But maybe with the new management over at Astralis, since they have been purchased now by the former, I think it was a Copenhagen Wolves guy, but don't quote me on that. Not 100% certain on my Danish Counter-Strike history, not my strongest suit. But it's interesting to see that they also play home to Fear and Jambo, as Passion UA has now moved on from the Ukrainian national team that they sort of were, and they've played home now to the leftovers from Complexity. They pretty much bought that entire roster, and before they bought that roster, they bought TC when he was let go from Complexity, as they needed a coaching change, and they never really landed on another coach to consistently help the roster during the end of their time. So it's good to see JT and TC, the brain trust of many, many years, reunited. A upgrade in the anchoring positions with Kivim, who's a very good blue collar fragger, as Thorin likes to say. It's just they're doing the best they can. They still have Hal Zurich this isn't a complexity video. I haven't really talked about the end of complexity on this channel yet since I came back, because I'm still processing all of it, as it's very much a heartbreak for me, someone who was an avid complexity fan and, North American fan, as that leaves us more with M80, to carry the mantle, and always, Hexed. Let's go, buddy. Maybe I'll talk about that with Donnie sometime. But like I said, Fnatic has just sort of become this farm team, and if we're going by some sort of pattern in history, there is absolutely gold within this team somewhere. So I guess if I had to bet on anyone, it would be Jambo. So just a quick rundown on that, just something I'd been thinking about for a while. This is video number 5 of Revival Week. Thank you guys so much for the positive reception to everything. While I am recording this, we have hit 150 subscribers, which is a fun milestone after the break that I took to come back and receive such positive reception. I hope you guys are having a good start to your week and have a great rest of your day. I have been CJ.